Yura sat alone at her usual table in the observation deck. Through the massive window, stars stretched across the darkness like scattered diamonds. She held a small data pad in her hands, pretending to read research notes. The truth was simpler and sadder. She was hiding. The orbital research station housed over 300 beings from 12 different species. Humans made up most of the crew, along with the insectoid Kresh, the floating Nomari, and others. But only 3 Velthrin lived here. The other 2 rarely left their quarters. Yura understood why. Her crystalline skin caught the starlight and reflected it in soft blue patterns. Her people were beautiful in their own way, she thought. But beauty meant nothing when everyone avoided you. The other species thought Velthrin were cold, emotionless, like living computers that happened to walk on 2 legs. It hurt more because it was not true. Yura could feel emotions more deeply than most species. Her people sensed the emotional frequencies that every living thing produced. Right now, she felt the happiness from a group of human engineers laughing 3 tables away. She sensed the calm contentment from a Kresh scientist eating near the window. She even picked up the nervous excitement from 2 Nomari discussing their upcoming experiment. But none of those emotions were directed at her. None of those beings wanted to share their feelings with a Velthrin. A food tray clattered onto the table across from her. Yura looked up startled. A human man stood there, maybe 30 years old, wearing the gray uniform of a maintenance engineer. His name tag read Jiho. He had kind eyes and messy black hair that looked like he had just finished a long shift. "This seat taken?" Jiho asked with a small smile. Yura blinked. People did not usually ask to sit with her. "It is not occupied," she said carefully. Her voice came out flat and precise, the way she had trained herself to speak. Show no emotion, and maybe they would not expect any. Jiho sat down and started eating his meal. He did not say anything else. Yura waited for him to realize his mistake and leave. But he stayed. He ate quietly, occasionally glancing out the window at the stars. After a few minutes, Yura could not stand the silence. "You are new to this station," she said. It was not a question. She had memorized the crew roster. "Got here 2 weeks ago," Jiho confirmed between bites. "Still learning where everything is." This station is huge. It houses 347 beings across 6 main decks. Yura provided the information automatically. The observation deck is on level 3 near the northern docking port. Jiho nodded. "You know a lot about this place." "I have been here for 1 year, 4 months, and 18 days, Yura said. Then she wondered if that made her sound strange. Humans did not usually count days so precisely, but Jiho just smiled. "That's pretty exact. You must have a good memory." Before Yura could respond, Jiho's communicator beeped. He checked it and sighed. Duty calls. "Coolant leak in Section 7. He stood up, gathering his tray. "See you around, Yura," he knew her name. Yura watched him walk away, confused. How did he know her name? Did he look it up? Why would he do that? The next day, Yura saw Jiho again in the corridor. He waved at her. Just a simple hand gesture, nothing special. But it surprised her so much she almost forgot to acknowledge it. By the time she raised her own hand, he had already turned the corner. That evening in the observation deck, Yura chose her usual table. Halfway through her meal, Jiho appeared again. "Mind if I join you?" he asked. Yura gestured to the empty seat. Her chest felt strange. Tight but not uncomfortable. Was this hope? She had almost forgotten what hope felt like. This time, Jiho talked more. He told her about fixing a broken gravity generator that morning. He complained about the station's ancient cooling system. He asked her what kind of research she did. "I study emotional frequencies," Yura explained. "All living beings produce energy patterns based on their emotional states. I measure and categorize these patterns." "That sounds fascinating," Jiho said. He seemed genuinely interested. "Can you sense emotions right now?" Yura hesitated. People usually became uncomfortable when they learned she could feel their emotions. But Jiho had asked directly. "Yes, I sense curiosity from you. And kindness. You are tired from your work shift but still content." She waited for him to get angry or scared. Instead, Jiho laughed softly. "That's accurate. It's like you read my mind, except you're reading my heart instead." "It is not mind reading," Yura clarified quickly. "I cannot know your thoughts. Only your general emotional state." "Still impressive," Jiho said. Then he asked, "What do you feel right now?" No one had ever asked Yura that before. She froze. Her training told her to deflect, to give a clinical answer. But something about Jiho's honest question made her want to answer honestly. I feel uncertain, she said slowly, and surprised. People do not usually sit with me. Why not? Jiho asked. He sounded genuinely confused. Velthrin are considered cold, Yura said. The words tasted bitter. We do not express emotions the way other species do. Most beings find us uncomfortable to be around. Jiho frowned. That seems unfair. You've been nothing but polite to me. Politeness and emotion are different things, Yura said. My people feel deeply, but we show it differently. Other species cannot see our emotional expressions, so they assume we have none. That's their loss, Jiho said simply. He finished his meal and stood up. Same time tomorrow? Yura felt that strange tightness in her chest again. Yes, same time tomorrow. After Jiho left, Yura sat alone for a while longer. She watched the stars and felt something she had not felt in months. She felt less lonely. It was a small feeling, fragile as glass, but it was there. She touched her arm and watched her crystalline skin shift slightly. The patterns changed from dull blue to a brighter shade. It was her body's way of showing emotion, but no one ever noticed these changes. No one except her. Maybe Jiho would notice, she thought. Maybe he would be different. Yura finished her meal and returned to her quarters. That night she did not cry herself to sleep like she usually did. Instead, she lay awake thinking about Jiho's kindness. She thought about his question, what do you feel right now? She wanted to feel hopeful, but hope was dangerous. Hope meant risking more pain when people inevitably left. Still, as Yura finally drifted to sleep, she could not stop the small smile that formed on her face. Tomorrow she would not eat alone. At least not tomorrow. For now, that was enough. Jiho kept his promise. For the next week, he ate lunch with Yura every day in the observation deck. He talked about his work, asked about her research, and made simple jokes that Yura was learning to understand. She found herself looking forward to these meetings. The tight feeling in her chest had grown into something warmer, but good things never lasted long. On the 8th day, Yura arrived early at their usual table. She was reviewing data when she heard voices nearby. 2 human engineers were talking to Jiho by the food dispensers. Yura's sensitive hearing picked up every word. Hey Jiho, we've been meaning to ask, one of them said. His name was Taman. Why do you keep sitting with that Velthrin? Yura's hands froze on her datapad. She kept her eyes down but listened carefully. You mean Yura? Jiho asked. She's nice. Why wouldn't I sit with her? Dude, Velthrin don't do feelings, the other engineer said. Her name was Summon. They're like walking calculators. They don't care about friendship or anything like that. That doesn't seem right, Jiho said. Yura felt a small burst of gratitude. Trust me, I've been here 3 years, Taman said. Velthrin prefer to be alone. It's just how they are. You're probably making her uncomfortable, and she's too polite to tell you. Yura wanted to stand up and tell them they were wrong, but the words stuck in her throat. How many times had she heard similar things? How many times had people assumed she wanted to be alone? I don't know, Jiho said slowly. She seems to enjoy our conversations. She's probably analyzing you for her research, Soman suggested. I heard Velthrin study emotions like we study rocks. Clinical, cold, no personal connection. The words hit Yura like physical blows. She carefully packed up her datapad and left the observation deck through the side entrance. She did not want Jiho to see her leave. She did not want him to ask questions she could not answer without her voice breaking. Back in her quarters, Yura sat on her bed and stared at the wall. Her crystalline skin had turned a dark, murky blue. It was the color of deep sadness, but no one would ever see it. No one understood Velthrin color changes. To others, she probably looked the same as always. Maybe Taman and Soman were right. Maybe she was making Jiho uncomfortable. Maybe he was too kind to tell her to leave him alone. The thought made her chest ache. 3 days passed. Yura avoided the observation deck during lunch hours. She ate in her quarters instead, alone with her thoughts. The loneliness came back, heavier than before. It was worse now because she had tasted something different. She had felt less alone, and losing that feeling hurt more than never having it at all. On the 4th day, an emergency alarm rang through the station. Yura rushed to the command center along with other researchers. A cargo ship had collided with an asteroid and was leaking oxygen. The crew needed immediate rescue. Commander Doyan, a serious human man with gray hair, called for volunteers. We need someone who can calculate the fastest approach trajectory. The crew has maybe 4 hours of air left. I can do it, Yura said immediately. She pulled up the navigational data and began running calculations. Her fingers moved across the holographic display, processing numbers faster than the station's computer. She worked for 20 minutes straight. Finally, she had the answer. This route will minimize travel time while avoiding the asteroid field debris, she announced. It will save approximately 43 minutes compared to standard approach. Commander Doyen studied her calculations. This is excellent work. Thank you. His voice was professional, grateful but distant. He thanked her the way someone might thank a useful machine. The rescue team left immediately using Yura's route. They saved all 7 crew members from the damaged ship. When they returned, everyone celebrated. People clapped and cheered. The rescue team was called heroic. No one mentioned Yura's calculations. No one thanked her beyond Commander Doyen's initial acknowledgement. She had done her job, provided the numbers, and that was that. Exactly what everyone expected from a Velthran. Yura returned to her quarters. She sat in the dark and felt the weight of invisibility. She had helped save 7 lives, but she was still just a calculator to them. A useful tool, not a person who cared about those lives, not someone who had felt genuine fear for those dying crew members. Late that night, her door chimed. Yura almost ignored it, but curiosity won. She opened the door. Jiho stood there looking worried. "Can I come in?" Yura stepped aside. Jiho entered and looked around her sparse quarters. She had not decorated anything. What was the point when no one visited? "You've been avoiding me," Jiho said directly. "Did I do something wrong?" "No," Yura said. It was true. He had done nothing wrong. "I have been busy with my research." "You're lying," Jiho said gently. "I don't need to sense emotions like you do to see that." Yura turned away. "It is better this way. I'm making you uncomfortable." "Your friend said so." "You heard that conversation," Jiho realized. He sighed. "Yura, please look at me." She turned back slowly. Jiho's face showed regret and frustration. "Taemin and Soman don't know what they're talking about," Jiho said. "They've never actually tried to know a Velthran. They just repeat what everyone else says." "But they are correct," Yura said quietly. "People find me uncomfortable. I do not express emotions properly. I do not fit in." "You fit in fine with me," Jiho insisted. "I enjoy our lunches. I like talking to you." "Don't you enjoy them too?" Yura wanted to lie. Lying would be safer. But Jiho's honest eyes made lying impossible. "Yes, I enjoy our time together very much. That is why I stopped coming." Jiho looked confused. "That doesn't make sense." "It hurts more to lose something good than to never have it at all," Yura explained. Her voice cracked slightly. "When you realize I am not worth your time, it will hurt. So I am ending it now before it hurts more." "Hey," Jiho said softly. He stepped closer. "Who said you're not worth my time?" "I decide that. Not Taemin, not Somin, not anyone else, me." Yura felt her skin shifting colors. The murky blue brightened slightly. She tried to control it, but emotions were overwhelming her carefully built walls. "I saw what you did today," Jiho continued. "Those calculations you made? You saved 7 people. That was amazing. And I saw your face when they came back safely. You cared about them. I could see it." "No one else saw it," Yura whispered. "Then everyone else is blind," Jiho said firmly. "But I'm not. I see you, Yura, the real you, and I'm not going anywhere." Yura felt something break inside her. It was not a bad breaking. It was like a dam cracking, releasing pressure she had held for too long. A single tear rolled down her crystalline cheek. It sparkled in the dim light. "I am lonely," she admitted. The words came out like a confession. "I am so lonely and I do not know how to make it stop." "You start by letting people in," Jiho said gently. "You start by believing that some of us actually want to know you." Yura wiped the tear away. "It is difficult to believe that." "I know," Jiho said. "But I'm patient, and I'm stubborn, so you're stuck with me now." Despite everything, Yura felt a small laugh escape. It sounded strange to her own ears. She could not remember the last time she had laughed. "Same time tomorrow?" Jiho asked. "In the observation deck?" Yura hesitated only a moment before nodding. "Same time tomorrow." After Jiho left, Yura looked at herself in the mirror. Her skin had shifted to a lighter blue, almost turquoise. It was not quite happiness yet. But it was hope. Real, fragile, terrifying hope. Maybe, she thought, maybe this time would be different. 2 weeks passed. Yura and Jiho fell into a comfortable routine. Lunch in the observation deck every day. Sometimes they talked about work. Sometimes they sat in peaceful silence watching ships come and go from the docking ports. Slowly, the crushing loneliness that had weighed on Yura began to lift. But she still felt the gap between them. Jiho was kind and patient, but Yura could sense his occasional confusion. She answered his questions with facts and data, because that was safe. That was what she knew how to do. Expressing real feelings still terrified her. She wanted to tell him that his friendship meant everything to her, that she counted the hours until lunch each day, that his presence made the station feel less cold and empty, but the words never came out right. So she stayed quiet and hoped he understood. One evening, Yura worked late in the research lab. She finished entering data into her computer and stretched. Her back was sore from sitting too long. She checked the time and was surprised. It was nearly midnight. The station operated on Earth Standard Time, and most crew members would be sleeping now. Yura decided to visit the observation deck. It would be empty at this hour. Sometimes she liked the quiet solitude when she could control it, when it was a choice rather than a punishment. The observation deck was dark except for the starlight streaming through the massive windows. Yura walked to her usual table and stopped. Someone was already there. Jiho sat alone, staring out the window. He held a cup of coffee, steam rising in the cool air. He looked tired and thoughtful. "You are here late," Yura said softly, not wanting to startle him. Jiho turned and smiled. "So are you. Can't sleep?" "I was working," Yura explained. She gestured to the empty seat. "May I sit?" "Always," Jiho said. Yura sat down and followed his gaze out the window. They were passing through a region of space with unusual stellar activity. Distant stars flickered and pulsed with different colors. A small asteroid field drifted slowly past the station, each rock catching and reflecting the starlight. It was beautiful in a way that made Yura's chest ache. "There is a meteor shower predicted for tonight," Yura said. "The station's path will take us through the tail of a comet. We should see increased meteor activity in approximately 12 minutes. "You really know everything about this place," Jiho said. There was warmth in his voice, not criticism. "I study the schedules and charts," Yura admitted. "It gives me something to do during long nights." "You have trouble sleeping too?" Jiho asked. Yura nodded. "Sometimes. My thoughts become too loud." They sat in comfortable silence for a few minutes. Then Jiho spoke again. "Can I ask you something personal?" Yura tensed slightly but nodded. "Yes, why do you come here? To the observation deck, I mean. Even when you were eating alone, you always came here instead of somewhere else." It was a simple question, but it cut right to something Yura had never admitted out loud. She considered giving a technical answer about optimal lighting and low traffic patterns, but Jiho deserved more than that. He had earned more than that. "I come here because it is beautiful," Yura said quietly. "Watching the stars and the ships and the cosmic events. It makes me feel less alone. The universe is vast and full of wonder. When I am here, my loneliness feels smaller. Does that make sense?" "Perfect sense," Jiho said. He took a sip of his coffee. "I come here for similar reasons. When I need to think or when I miss home, I watch the stars. It reminds me that somewhere out there, people I love are looking at the same stars." Yura felt something shift in her chest. It was the same feeling she got when she sensed strong emotions from others. Except this time it was her own emotion. Connection. Real, genuine connection with another being. "I did not know you missed home," Yura said. "You always seem content." "I am content," Jiho said. "But contentment and homesickness can exist together. Emotions are complicated like that." "Yes," Yura agreed. "They are." They fell silent again. Yura watched the darkness beyond the window, waiting for the meteor shower. She could feel Jiho's presence beside her, warm and solid and real. It was a feeling she wanted to memorize, to keep forever. Then Jiho said something that changed everything. "I thought you were a cold creature." Yura froze. The words hit her like ice water. She turned to look at him, preparing for the familiar pain of rejection. But Jiho was not looking at her with judgment. He was smiling softly, thoughtfully. "When I first got here, everyone told me that," Jiho continued. "They said Velthran were cold, emotionless, like talking to a computer with legs. And at first I almost believed them." Yura felt her skin darkening, the color draining toward that murky blue of sadness. This was it, the moment she had feared. Jiho had finally realized what everyone else already knew. But then I noticed something, Jiho said, still looking out the window. Cold things don't come here to watch beauty, do they? Yura's breath caught in her throat. The words were so simple, so obvious, but no one had ever said them before. No one had made that connection. Cold things don't feel lonely, Jiho continued softly. They don't count down the hours until lunch. They don't light up when talking about subjects they love. They don't care about saving dying crew members, and they definitely don't cry when they think no one cares about them. Yura felt tears building behind her eyes. Her crystalline skin began shifting, colors swirling and changing in ways she could not control. It was the most visible emotional display a Veltran could make, and she was doing it in front of someone else for the first time in over a year. You feel everything, don't you? Jiho asked gently, finally turning to look at her. His eyes widened slightly when he saw her changing colors. Wow, Yura, you're glowing. I am sorry, Yura whispered, trying to calm herself. I should not. Don't apologize, Jiho interrupted. This is beautiful. Is this how your people show emotions? Yura nodded, wiping at her tears. Yes, our skin changes color and pattern based on what we feel. But most species never notice. They see our faces, stay calm, and assume we feel nothing. What color are you now? Jiho asked with genuine curiosity. Yura looked at her hands. The crystalline surface swirled with multiple shades. It is complicated. Blue usually means sadness, but this is mixing with silver, which is gratitude, and gold, which is joy. I am feeling many things at once. Because of what I said? Yes, Yura took a shaky breath. No one has ever understood before. Everyone sees the calm face and thinks that is all there is. But you looked deeper. You saw what they did not. They weren't looking, Jiho said simply. But I was. The first meteor streaked across the sky beyond the window. Then another. Then dozens more, lighting up the darkness in brilliant flashes. The comet-tail debris burned up in a distant planet's atmosphere, creating a light show that painted the observation deck in shifting colors. Yura and Jiho watched in silence. But it was different now. The wall between them had crumbled. For the first time since arriving at the station, Yura felt truly seen. Not as a cold calculator or a walking computer, but as a person with feelings and needs and hopes. Thank you, Yura said softly, her voice almost drowned out by another meteor flash. For what? Jiho asked. For seeing me, Yura said. For not accepting what everyone else said. For sitting with me day after day until I believed you actually wanted to be here. I did want to be here, Jiho said. I still do, Yura smiled. It was a small smile, barely visible on her calm Veltran face. But her skin blazed with bright gold, the color of pure happiness. And this time someone was watching. Someone saw it. Someone understood. They sat together until the meteor shower ended and the stars returned to their quiet twinkling. When they finally left the observation deck, Yura felt lighter than she had in years. The loneliness was still there, like a scar that would never fully heal, but it was manageable now. Survivable because she was not alone anymore. Not really, not in the ways that mattered most. Jiho had looked past the surface and found the truth. He had seen a lonely girl who loved beauty and missed connection and wanted so desperately to be understood. And he had stayed. That night, Yura slept peacefully for the first time in months. Her dreams were full of meteors and starlight and the revolutionary idea that maybe, just maybe, she was not too different to be loved. After the meteor shower, something changed. Yura found herself opening up more during lunch with Jiho. She told him about her research in greater detail, explaining not just the facts but why she found them fascinating. She admitted that studying emotions from a distance was her way of experiencing connection without the risk of rejection. Jiho listened to everything. He asked questions that showed he genuinely cared. And slowly, Yura learned to recognize her own worth through his eyes. One afternoon, Jiho brought someone new to their usual table. A human woman with kind eyes and dirt under her fingernails. She carried a small potted plant carefully. Yura, this is Hana, Jiho introduced them. She runs the station's botanical gardens. Hana, this is Yura. I've told you about her. Hana smiled warmly. The emotional researcher. Jiho says you have an amazing ability to sense feelings. Yura felt nervous. New people usually meant new rejection. But Jiho trusted Hana, and Yura trusted Jiho. Yes, I can sense emotional frequencies produced by living beings. That must be overwhelming sometimes, Hana said, sitting down. being surrounded by so many feelings that aren't your own. The observation surprised Yura. Most people thought her ability was convenient or interesting. No one had ever considered that it might be difficult. It can be, especially in crowded spaces. I have learned to filter most of it out. Like sensory overload, Hana said, nodding. I get that. I'm very sensitive to sounds. Too much noise gives me headaches. Is it similar? Yes, Yura said, feeling an unexpected kinship. Very similar. They talked for the next hour. Hana explained how she grew plants in the station's controlled environment, carefully managing every variable to help them thrive. Yura found herself fascinated. It was not so different from her own work, observing and measuring and trying to understand living systems. You should visit the garden sometime, Hana offered. Plants have emotions too in their own way. I'd be curious what you sense from them. I would like that, Yura said, and she meant it. The prospect of spending time with someone new did not terrify her like it once had. After Hana left, Jiho grinned at Yura. See? Not everyone thinks Velthrin are cold computers. Hana is different, Yura said. So are you, Jiho replied. And so am I. Maybe it's time you met more different people. Over the next few weeks, Jiho and Hana became a bridge for Yura. They invited her to small group activities. A movie night with 5 people, a card game in the rec room, a casual dinner where everyone brought food from their home cultures. At first, Yura struggled. Social situations were minefields. She did not know when to laugh at jokes or how to make small talk. Her responses came out too formal, too precise. But Jiho and Hana stayed close, gently guiding her through the unspoken rules of friendship. One evening at Hana's dinner gathering, another human asked Yura a direct question. His name was Minho, a shuttle pilot with an easy smile. So Yura, do Velthrin have families? Like parents and siblings? The table went quiet. Everyone looked at Yura, waiting. She felt their curiosity mixed with uncertainty. They did not know if the question was rude. Yes, Yura said carefully. We have family structures similar to humans. I have 2 parents and 1 younger brother. They live on the Velthrin homeworld. Do you miss them? Minho asked. The question was so simple, so human, and yet no one had asked Yura anything like it before. They asked about her research, her abilities, her species' culture, but not about her personal feelings. Yes, Yura admitted. I miss them very much. Especially my brother. He is only 15 years old. I left when he was 13. He sends me messages sometimes, but it is not the same as being there. She waited for the discomfort. For people to change the subject because they had stumbled into emotional territory with a supposedly emotionless being, but instead Hana reached over and squeezed Yura's hand. That must be really hard, Hana said softly. It is, Yura agreed. Her skin shifted toward blue, showing her sadness. She had stopped trying to hide the color changes around this small group. They had started to notice and ask what different colors meant. What's blue mean again? Minho asked. Sorry, I'm still learning. Sadness, Yura explained. Or sometimes loneliness. The exact shade indicates intensity. You're pretty blue right now, Minho observed. Is talking about your family making it worse? We can change subjects. No, Yura said quickly. It helps to talk about them. I just never thought anyone would want to hear about it. Of course we want to hear about it, Jiho said from across the table. They're important to you. That makes them important to us. Yura felt her colors shifting again, blue mixing with silver and gold, gratitude and joy threading through sadness. I did not know friendship could feel like this. Like what? Hana asked gently. Safe, Yura said. Like I can be myself without fear. The dinner continued with easier conversation after that. People asked Yura more questions about her life, her interests, her opinions. They included her in jokes and debates. When she did not understand something, they explained without making her feel stupid. Later that week, Yura visited the botanical gardens as Hana had suggested. The gardens occupied a large dome near the station's core. Inside, earth plants grew alongside specimens from a dozen other worlds. The air was humid and smelled like soil and flowers. Hana found Yura standing in front of a massive tree from the Nomari homeworld. Its leaves shifted colors slowly, responding to light and air currents. Beautiful, isn't it? Hana said. This tree is over 200 years old. The Nomari brought it here as a gift when the station opened. I can sense something from it, Yura said, surprised. Not emotions exactly, but something similar. A kind of contentment. It is happy here. Plants communicate through chemical signals and electrical impulses, Hana explained. Maybe that's what you're sensing. Their own version of emotional frequencies. Yura reached out and carefully touched the tree's bark. The sensation of peaceful contentment grew stronger. This is remarkable. I never considered that my abilities might work on plant life. Maybe you could help me, Hana suggested. I have some plants that aren't thriving and I can't figure out why. If you can sense their distress, it might help me understand what they need. I would be honored to help, Yura said. They spent the next 2 hours examining different plants. Yura described what she sensed from each one. Hana took notes and made adjustments to care routines based on Yura's readings. It was collaborative work, both of them contributing their unique skills toward a common goal. You're really good at this, Hana said as they finished. Have you ever considered that your ability isn't just for research? It could help in so many practical ways. I never thought about it, Yura admitted. I always believed my ability made me different in a bad way, something that separated me from others. Differences aren't bad, Hana said. They're just different. And sometimes they're exactly what's needed. That night, Yura wrote a long message to her younger brother. She told him about Jiho and Hana and Minho. She told him about the botanical gardens and the new friends she was making. She admitted that she had been lonely for a long time, but that things were getting better. His response came 2 days later. I am so happy for you, sister. I always knew you were not meant to be alone. You have too much love inside you to keep it all locked away. I am proud of you for being brave enough to let people see it. Yura read the message 3 times. Her younger brother understood her better than she understood herself sometimes. He was right. She did have love inside her. She had always had it. She had just been too afraid to show it. But fear was losing its grip. Day by day, meal by meal, conversation by conversation, Yura was learning that vulnerability was not weakness. Opening up did not guarantee pain. Sometimes it led to connection. Sometimes it led to friendship. Sometimes it led to belonging. Her skin glowed bright gold as she saved her brother's message. The color reflected off the walls of her quarters, filling the space with warm light. For the first time since arriving at the station, her room did not feel like a prison. It felt like a home she was building one brave moment at a time, a home where she was not just tolerated but wanted, a home where cold creatures did not exist because everyone, even Velthrin, carried warmth inside them. You just had to be willing to share it. And for the first time in her life, Yura was willing to try. 3 months had passed since that night of the meteor shower. Yura now ate lunch with a regular group of 6 people. She played cards in the rec room twice a week. She even helped Hana in the botanical gardens every weekend. The crushing loneliness had faded to a dull ache, something manageable and distant. Life on the station had settled into a comfortable rhythm, until the distress signal arrived. Yura was in the research lab when the alarm sounded. She rushed to the command center along with dozens of other crew members. Commander Doyen stood at the central display, his face grim. A 3-dimensional map showed their section of space. A red marker blinked urgently at the edge of the display. We received an automated distress signal 20 minutes ago, Commander Doyen announced to the assembled crew. A colony transport ship suffered catastrophic engine failure in the contested zone. They're stranded near the border with hostile territory. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. The contested zone was dangerous. Multiple factions claimed that region of space. Ships that entered without proper authorization often did not return. How many people on board? Someone asked. Manifest shows 32, Commander Doyen said. Mixed species. Families heading to a new colony world. Can we reach them in time? Another person asked. Commander Doyen shook his head. Their life support is failing. They have maybe 6 hours of air left. Even our fastest shuttle would take 7 hours to reach them. So we send a probe to monitor the situation, suggested Taman, one of the engineers. Document what happens and file a report. That's protocol for contested zones. Yura felt something sharp pierce her chest. Not physical pain, but emotional. She focused her senses on the distant ship. It was at the very edge of her range, but she could feel it. Terror, desperation, the emotional screams of people who knew they were going to die, and something else, something smaller and higher pitched. Children. There were children on that ship. We cannot just watch them die, Yura said. Her voice came out louder than she intended. The command center went quiet. Everyone turned to look at her. Commander Doyen frowned. Yura, I understand your concern, but the math doesn't work. We can't reach them before their air runs out. Then we need a faster solution, Yura insisted. She stepped up to the display and pulled up navigational data. Her fingers moved quickly across the holographic interface. What if we use the gravity slingshot maneuver around the nearby gas giant? It would accelerate the shuttle beyond normal speeds. That's incredibly dangerous, said Soman, another engineer. The shuttle's not designed for that kind of stress. It could tear apart. But it is possible, Yura said. She ran the calculations in her head, then displayed them for everyone to see. 73% chance of success. The shuttle could reach them in 5 hours and 40 minutes. 73% means a 27% chance of killing our own rescue team. Commander Doyen said. I can't authorize that, so we do nothing? Yura demanded. The emotions from the dying ship were overwhelming her filters. She could feel every moment of their terror. 32 people will suffocate slowly while we watch safely from here? Yura, this isn't about not caring, Commander Doyen said, his tone gentler. It's about making smart decisions. We can't risk our crew on a mission that probably won't work. You mean you will not risk them for strangers in a dangerous zone? Yura said. Her skin was shifting rapidly through dark colors. Blue for sadness, red for anger, black for despair. You think their lives are not worth our effort? That's not fair, Taman said. We're being practical. You're letting emotions cloud your judgment. The word struck Yura like a physical blow, letting emotions cloud her judgment. The same thing people always said about beings who felt too much. The implication was clear. She was supposed to be a cold, logical Velthrin. Instead, she was acting too human. My emotions are not clouding anything, Yura said, her voice shaking. I can feel them dying out there. Every moment of their fear. Every desperate prayer. There are children on that ship who will never grow up because we decided it was not practical to save them. Jiho pushed through the crowd. Yura's right. We have to try. Me too, Hana said, stepping forward. I'll volunteer for the rescue team. And me, Minho added. The shuttle pilot squared his shoulders. I can handle the slingshot maneuver. I've done similar tricks before. Commander Doyen looked at the 3 volunteers, then at Yura. His expression was conflicted. This goes against protocol. If something goes wrong, headquarters will have my head. Then let them take it, Yura said. At least you will know you tried to save lives instead of watching people die because the rules said you should. The command center was silent. Everyone waited for Commander Doyen's decision. Yura could feel the emotions swirling around her. Some people agreed with her. Others thought she was being reckless. But underneath it all, she sensed a common thread. Guilt. They all felt guilty about abandoning those people. Commander Doyen closed his eyes for a long moment. When he opened them, he looked directly at Yura. Can you sense them from here? The people on that ship? Yes, Yura said. Barely, but yes. And you're sure there are children? I am certain. At least 4, maybe 5. All under 10 years old. Commander Doyen nodded slowly. Something in his expression changed. My daughter is 7 years old. She lives on Earth with her mother. He turned to address the entire command center. Anyone who wants to volunteer for this rescue mission, step forward now. Jiho, Hana, and Minho remained at the front. 2 more people joined them. A medical officer named Yunji and a security officer named Kyung-soo. 5 volunteers, Commander Doyen said. That's enough for a rescue team. He looked at Yura. You'll go with them. Your ability to sense the survivors' emotional states could be crucial for locating them quickly once you're on board. Yura felt her hearts beat faster. She had not expected to be asked to go. I have no rescue training. You have something more valuable, Commander Doyen said. You can feel them. You can guide the team to where they are, even if the ship's layout is damaged or unclear. I'll keep her safe, Jiho promised. Commander Doyen pulled up the navigation plans.
Minho, you'll pilot.
The slingshot maneuver is risky, but Yura's calculations look sound. Jiho, you and Kyung-soo will handle any necessary repairs to their ship. Hana and Yunji, you manage the survivors once we get them. Yura, you focus entirely on sensing their locations and emotional states. What about the contested zone? Soman asked. If a hostile ship finds them there, that's a risk we're taking, Commander Doyen interrupted. But I'd rather face that risk than live with the knowledge that we let families die because we were afraid. The rescue team assembled quickly. Yura had never been on a shuttle mission before. She felt terrified, but the terror from the dying ship was stronger. Those people needed her. Needed all of them. As they prepared for launch, Taman approached Yura. He looked uncomfortable. I'm sorry for what I said in there, about emotions clouding your judgment. You were not entirely wrong, Yura said quietly. My emotions are involved. But they are not clouding anything. They are showing me what matters. Yeah, Taman said. I see that now. Good luck out there. The shuttle launched with Minho at the controls. The plan was insane. They would fly at maximum speed toward the gas giant, use its gravity to slingshot themselves faster than the shuttle was designed to go, then coast the rest of the way to the stranded ship, if the shuttle survived the stress. If they could find the ship, if there was still anyone alive when they arrived. If hostile forces did not intercept them. Too many ifs. But as Yura strapped into her seat and felt the shuttle accelerate, she knew this was right. This was what compassion meant. This was what it meant to care about strangers simply because they were alive and needed help. Maybe her people were not supposed to feel this much. Maybe Velthrin were designed to be cold and logical. But Yura had learned something important over the past few months. Design did not determine destiny. You could choose to be warm even if the universe expected you to be cold. You could choose to care even when it hurt. You could choose to risk everything for people you would never meet because their lives had value. That was not weakness. That was strength. The kind of strength that Jiho and Hana, and now Commander Doyen, had shown her. The strength of beings who looked at suffering and said, not on my watch. The shuttle shook as they approached the gas giant. The gravity well pulled at them, building speed. Minho's hands flew over the controls, making tiny adjustments. Hang on, he called back to the team. This is going to get rough. Yura closed her eyes and reached out with her senses toward that distant dying ship. Hold on, she thought toward those terrified minds. Just hold on a little longer. We are coming. Help is coming. She did not know if they could hear her thoughts, but she hoped they could feel something. Hope instead of despair. The knowledge that someone somewhere cared enough to try, even if that someone was supposed to be cold. The shuttle shook violently as it swung around the gas giant. Yura gripped her seat with both hands, her crystalline skin flickering between colors too fast to track. The artificial gravity failed for a moment, leaving her stomach floating somewhere near her throat. Come on, hold together, Minho muttered at the controls. Warning lights blinked across his display. Hull stress at 90%. Engine temperature critical. But the shuttle held, barely. They shot out from behind the gas giant like a missile. The acceleration pressed everyone back into their seats. Then suddenly it was over. They were coasting through empty space at impossible speeds. Status? Jiho called from the back. We made it, Minho said, his voice shaky with relief. Hull integrity at 73%. Engines are hot but functioning. 5 hours and 37 minutes to target. Yura released her grip on the seat. Her hands were trembling. She had never experienced anything so physically intense. But there was no time to recover. She closed her eyes and focused her senses forward, searching for those distant emotional signatures. There. Faint, but present. Fear, pain, desperation. And underneath it, something that made her hearts clench. Resignation. Some of them had already given up hope. I sense them, Yura reported. They are still alive. But their emotions are fading. The fear is becoming acceptance. They think no one is coming. How many distinct signatures? Unji asked. The medical officer was already preparing her equipment. Yura concentrated. 30, maybe 31. It is difficult to separate individual minds at this distance, but I am certain of at least 30. The manifest said 32, Hana noted quietly. I know. Yura did not want to think about what that meant. One person already gone, or maybe just unconscious. Their emotions too weak for her to detect. She hoped for the second option. The next 5 hours felt like 50. The team prepared their equipment and went over the rescue plan repeatedly. Once they reached the stranded ship, they would dock at the emergency airlock. Kyungsu and Jiho would secure the connection and ensure it was safe. Then everyone would board together. Yura's job was to guide them to the survivors as quickly as possible. Every minute counted. The ship's life support was failing. Even if the oxygen had not run out yet, carbon dioxide buildup would be making everyone sick. 20 minutes to contact, Minho announced. The stranded ship appeared on their view screen. It was a standard colony transport, built to carry families and supplies to frontier worlds, but it was clearly damaged. Scorch marks covered one side where the engines had exploded. The ship tumbled slowly through space, its stabilizers offline. Matching rotation, Minho said. His fingers danced across the controls. This is going to be tricky. Yura watched the damaged ship grow larger. She could feel the people inside now much more clearly. Their terror was overwhelming. Some were praying. Others were holding loved ones. A few had passed out from lack of oxygen, and the children. The children were crying. They did not understand why the air was hard to breathe, why their parents looked so scared, why everything had gone wrong. Almost there, Minho said. The shuttle matched the transport ship's tumbling rotation. He fired maneuvering thrusters in precise bursts, bringing them alongside the emergency airlock. Docking in 3, 2, 1. A metallic clang echoed through the shuttle. Kyungsoo and Jiho jumped up immediately, checking the seal between the two ships. Pressure holding, Kyungsoo confirmed. We have a good seal. Their airlock is manual, Jiho reported, examining the controls. Emergency power only. Give me a minute. Yura unbuckled from her seat. Her legs felt weak, but she forced herself to stand. Hana put a hand on her shoulder. You okay? I feel them suffering, Yura said quietly. We need to hurry. Jiho got the airlock open. Stale, thin air rushed out from the transport ship. Everyone quickly put on emergency oxygen masks. Yura's mask was designed for Velthran biology, filtering the bad air and providing what she needed to breathe. Yura, which way? Jiho asked. Yura stepped through the airlock into the transport ship. The corridor was dark except for dim emergency lighting. She closed her eyes and followed the emotional signatures. This way. The main passenger area. Most of them are together. The team moved quickly through the damaged ship. Debris floated in the low gravity. Sparks occasionally burst from damaged panels. The ship was dying around them. They reached the main passenger area. The door was sealed. Jiho worked on opening it while Yura pressed her hand against the metal. She could feel everyone on the other side. 30 distinct minds, 30 separate wells of fear and fading hope. Got it, Jiho said. The door slid open with a horrible grinding sound. The scene inside was heartbreaking. People were huddled together in small groups. Some were unconscious. Others looked up with dazed, oxygen-starved eyes. 3 different species were represented. Humans, a family of insectoid creche, and something Yura did not recognize. And there in the corner, 4 small human children clung to their mother. The woman was barely conscious. The children were crying weakly, their faces pale. Medical, start with the unconscious ones, Kyungsoo ordered. Everyone else, help people to the shuttle. Move quickly but carefully. Yura rushed to the family with children. The mother looked up at her with dull eyes. She seemed confused to see a Velthran. We are here to help, Yura said gently. We are taking you to safety. My babies, the mother whispered. Please, my babies, and I will carry them, Yura promised. She knelt down and looked at the children. The oldest could not be more than 8 years old. Can you walk? The children stared at her with wide, terrified eyes. They had probably never seen a Velthran before. Yura's crystalline skin and calm face must have seemed alien and frightening, but Yura knew how to fix that. She took a deep breath and let her emotions show. Her skin shifted to warm gold and soft silver. Comfort and safety. She let the colors glow brightly, filling the dim space with gentle light. See? Yura said softly. I am not scary. I am here to help you. Can you hold on to me? The oldest child reached out tentatively and touched Yura's hand. You're pretty, the little girl whispered. Thank you, Yura said. Now let's get you somewhere with good air to breathe. She picked up the 2 youngest children. Jiho appeared beside her and lifted the mother. Hana took the hands of the older 2 children. Together they moved toward the airlock. The rescue took 30 minutes of careful, desperate work. Yoonji and Hana administered oxygen and stabilized the worst cases. Kyungsoo and Jiho carried anyone too weak to walk. Minho kept the shuttle's life support running at maximum, cycling in fresh air as fast as possible. Yura made 3 trips back and forth. Each time she guided team members to survivors they might have missed. Her emotional sensing was invaluable. She found a creche male who had crawled into a maintenance shaft, delirious from oxygen deprivation. She located an elderly human man who had locked himself in a storage room, too weak to open the door. On her final trip back to the transport ship, Yura checked every section one more time. She searched for that 30-second signature. The one person she had not counted earlier. She found him in the engine room. A human male, maybe 40 years old. He was not moving. Yura knelt beside him and checked for a pulse. Nothing. His body was cold. He had been dead for hours, probably killed in the initial explosion. Yura felt tears building behind her eyes. They had saved 31 people, but they could not save everyone. She reached out and gently closed the dead man's eyes. I am sorry we did not arrive sooner. Yura, we need to go, Jiho called from the corridor. This ship won't last much longer. Yura stood and took one last look at the dead man. Then she ran back to the shuttle. Kyungsoo sealed the airlock behind her. Minho fired the engines, pulling them away from the transport ship. 10 minutes later, the transport ship's hull gave out. It broke apart in slow motion, pieces drifting into the darkness. If the rescue team had arrived even 30 minutes later, everyone would have died. The shuttle was crowded now. 31 survivors packed into a space designed for 10, but no one complained. They were alive, breathing clean air, holding their loved ones. That was all that mattered. The mother with 4 children found Yura sitting near the back. The woman's eyes were clear now, her mind sharp with proper oxygen. You saved my babies, she said. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yura felt her skin shifting to gold and silver again. Joy and humility. We all saved them. The whole team worked together. But you came, the mother said. Someone far away decided we were worth saving. That's a miracle. It is not a miracle, Yura said quietly. It is compassion. Something that should never be rare. The journey back to the station took less time. Minho pushed the shuttle as fast as he dared with so many people aboard. By the time they approached the docking bay, word had already spread. Commander Doyen had announced the successful rescue. When the shuttle docked, the entire station seemed to be waiting. Medical teams rushed aboard to check the survivors. Station crew members volunteered spare quarters for the displaced families. Someone had already prepared hot food and clean clothes. Yura stepped off the shuttle last. Her legs were shaking from exhaustion. Her mind was overwhelmed from hours of sensing intense emotions. But she felt something she had never felt before. Pride. Real, genuine pride in what she had accomplished. Commander Doyen approached her. That was remarkable work, Yura. Your ability to sense the survivors made this rescue. The station held a formal ceremony 3 days after the rescue. The main assembly hall was packed with crew members from every department and species. The 31 survivors attended as well, healthy now and grateful to be alive. Yura stood on stage with the rest of the rescue team. She felt exposed under so many watching eyes. Her skin kept trying to shift toward nervous blue, but she forced herself to maintain calm colors. This was a happy occasion. People were celebrating life and bravery. She should not show fear. Commander Doyen stepped up to the podium. 3 days ago, this crew faced a difficult decision. We received a distress signal from people trapped in a dangerous location. The logical choice was to do nothing. The safe choice was to follow protocol and minimize our risk. He paused and looked directly at Yura. But one person refused to accept that choice. She felt the suffering of strangers across the vastness of space and insisted we had a duty to help. She reminded us that rules exist to guide us, not to replace our humanity. Yura felt her skin warming despite her efforts to control it. Humanity. He had said humanity, even though she was not human. The inclusion made her chest feel tight. Because of researcher Yura's compassion and courage, Commander Doyen continued, and because of the bravery of our rescue team, 31 people are alive today who would otherwise have died. This station should be proud of what we accomplished together. The crowd erupted in applause. People stood and clapped. Some of the survivors were crying. The mother with 4 children blew Yura a kiss, her eyes shining with gratitude. After the ceremony, something unexpected happened. People approached Yura, not just Jiho and Hana and her small friend group. Dozens of crew members came up to talk to her. They shook her hand. They thanked her. They asked questions about her abilities and her species. A creche engineer named Bora stepped forward. I owe you an apology, she said, her mandibles clicking with embarrassment. I have worked here for 2 years and never once tried to know you. I assumed the things everyone said about Veltrin were true. I am sorry. You are not the only one, Yura said gently. Many people made the same assumption. But that doesn't make it right, Bora insisted. Would you be willing to give a presentation about Velthran culture and emotional expression? I think many of us would benefit from learning the truth. Yura felt surprised. A presentation meant standing in front of people, being vulnerable, explaining the things she had kept hidden for so long. I have never given a presentation before. Then we'll help you prepare, Hana said, appearing at Yura's side. This is important. People need to understand. Over the next week, Yura worked with Hana and Jiho to prepare her presentation. She gathered research about Velthran emotional expression. She practiced explaining the color shifts that showed her feelings. She prepared answers to questions she anticipated people would ask. The presentation was scheduled for a general assembly. Attendance was optional, but the hall filled quickly. Over 200 crew members came to listen. Yura stood at the podium and looked out at all those faces. Her skin flickered nervously between colors. "Thank you for coming," she began. Her voice was shaky. "I'm going to talk about something personal today. My people, the Velthran, have been misunderstood for a very long time. I want to help correct that misunderstanding." She pulled up images on the display behind her. Pictures of Velthran in different emotional states, their crystalline skin showing various color patterns. Velthran do not have the same facial expressions as humans or many other species, Yura explained. Our faces remain mostly calm regardless of our emotions. This has led to the assumption that we do not feel anything. But this assumption is wrong, she gestured to herself. Watch my skin as I speak. Right now I am nervous. See the flickering between blue and gray? That is anxiety. My body is showing exactly what I feel. But unless you know what to look for, you would not see it. Yura spent the next hour explaining Velthran communication. She demonstrated different emotional colors. She talked about how her people sensed emotional frequencies. She shared stories from her childhood, explaining how young Velthran learned to control their color shifts in public to avoid overwhelming others. For most of my time on this station, I have been lonely, Yura admitted. The crowd was silent. I sat alone in the observation deck every day. I ate meals by myself. I went back to empty quarters and cried because I thought no one would ever understand me. Her skin shifted to deep blue as she spoke. The color was visible to everyone now. This is what loneliness looks like for Velthran, this dark blue. And I wore this color almost every day for over a year. She paused and let her colors shift again, gold and silver mixed with white. But then something changed. A human engineer sat with me one day. He refused to believe the things everyone said about my people. He looked past the calm face and saw the person underneath. And slowly others joined him. Yura looked at Jiho in the crowd. He smiled at her. These people taught me that loneliness is not inevitable. That being different does not mean being alone. They taught me that compassion can bridge any gap between species. She gestured to the crowd. Now I want to teach you something. Velthran are not cold. We feel everything, often more intensely than other species can imagine. We love deeply. We grieve deeply. We hope and fear and dream just like you do. We just show it differently. The next time you meet someone from an unfamiliar species, Yura concluded, do not assume you know what they feel. Ask questions. Look closer. Give them a chance to show you who they really are. You might be surprised by what you discover. The applause that followed was deafening. People stood and clapped for several minutes. When it finally died down, dozens of hands shot up with questions. Commander Doyen stood. This presentation has made clear that we need to update our diversity training protocols. We cannot allow ignorance to isolate our crew members. Starting next month, all new arrivals will attend workshops about emotional expression across different species. Yura, I hope you will help develop this curriculum. I would be honored, Yura said. Her skin glowed bright gold. In the days following the presentation, everything changed. Yura could not walk through the corridors without people stopping to talk to her. Her usual table in the observation deck became so crowded that they had to push 3 tables together to fit everyone. Invitations poured in. Movie nights, game tournaments, cultural exchange dinners. Yura attended as many as she could. Each event was exhausting in its own way, but also fulfilling. She was learning to navigate social situations without constant fear. She was learning that people genuinely wanted to know her. 2 months later, Yura received a message from station administration. They wanted her to extend her research assignment. Instead of leaving in 6 months as originally planned, they asked her to stay for at least 2 more years. Yura sat in her quarters and read the message 3 times. 2 more years on this station. 2 more years away from her family on the Velthran homeworld. 2 more years in the place where she had once felt so completely alone. But when she looked around her quarters, they did not feel empty anymore. Photos covered her walls now, pictures of her friends, images from group outings, a drawing one of the rescued children had made for her, showing Yura with bright golden skin and the label "My Hero" written in crayon. Her communicator beeped. A message from Jiho, movie night at Hana's place. "You coming?" Yura smiled and typed back. "Yes, I will bring snacks." She looked at the message from administration again. 2 more years. 2 more years of lunches with friends. 2 more years of helping Hana in the botanical gardens. 2 more years of teaching others about Velthran culture. 2 more years of feeling like she belonged somewhere. She accepted the extension request. That evening, Yura walked to Hana's quarters for movie night. The corridor was busy with crew members finishing their shifts. 3 people waved at her as she passed. 2 others stopped to chat briefly. It was normal now. Natural. She was no longer invisible. Hana's quarters were packed with people. Jiho had claimed his usual spot on the couch. Minyo was arguing with Bora about which movie to watch. Yunji was setting out food. At least 15 people had crammed into the small space. "Yura," Hana called out. "Perfect timing. We're about to start. Come sit here." She patted the couch cushion between herself and Jiho. Yura settled into her spot. She felt the warmth of friends on either side, the comfortable buzz of conversation around her, the sense of belonging that had once seemed impossible. The movie started, some human comedy that Yura did not fully understand. But that did not matter. She laughed when others laughed. She asked questions when she was confused. She let herself be part of the experience instead of observing from outside. Halfway through the movie, during a quiet scene, Jiho leaned over and whispered, "Remember when I first sat with you in the observation deck?" "I remember," Yura whispered back. "I thought you made a mistake. I thought you would realize I was not worth your time." "I knew exactly what I was doing," Jiho said. "I saw someone who looked lonely, and I thought, cold creatures don't sit alone watching stars. Only someone who feels deeply would do that." Yura felt her skin shifting to the warmest gold.